Alrighty, welcome to Chris Nation 4. Today we're talking about Venus today. So this has been on my mind for a while because I do want to do a series on Venus and kind of study on it. But today we're talking about the Venera probes. And remember, there was only like the two famous Venera probes, Venera 13 and 14, that have successfully actually gathered data and actually stayed on its surface for quite a bit of time before it was attacked. So we're checking out a video called Trapped on Venus, What Remains of Venera Probes Today. This is from the channel V101 Space. And yeah, this channel has some really good content for space related topics, so give this channel a welcome. So without further ado, we're going to check out this video. And this is over an 11-minute video, so the original link in the description down below. So also make sure to subscribe to this channel if you guys want some more space content. Also, I do have a community post where you can post on any space questions. I'll probably answer some of your space questions. So without further ado, let's check out this video.
In 1982, a pair of robotic pioneers embarked on a journey to one of the most hostile environments in our solar system, the surface.
Well, not just 1982, but there's been previous Venera missions to Venus between 1961 to the 80s. But majority of the Venera, the early Veneras, have not successfully made it to Venus. Either they travel too slow, or they travel too fast, the parachute ripped open, or it just didn't withstand Venus at all.
Of Venus. The Soviet Union's Venera 13 and 14 probes were engineered to withstand conditions that could melt lead. Pressures rivaling the depths of Earth's oceans, and an atmosphere saturated with corrosive acid. An environment that can only be described as hellish. Their missions were short-lived, but groundbreaking,
Cool.
revealing Venus like never before or since.
Yeah, you can see its platform and its sensors here.
Yet, what became of these robotic explorers after we lost contact? After decades of exposure to such a hostile environment, what would these probes look like today? You're watching V101 Space. My name is Rob, and if you enjoy diving into the wonders of space, then why not subscribe? There is so much more to come.
Heck yes.
The Venera program, meaning Venus in Russian, is a fascinating piece of Cold War history.
That's true.
Many people don't realize that the Soviet Union was sending data and pictures to Earth from the surface of Venus months before NASA captured the first images from the surface of Mars, for example. It had never been done before and has never been done since.
Yep. Before any Venera missions, no one has ever been to Venus before, or even attempted to go to Venus, because like I said, you can't even get near Venus. Or yeah, I mean, we've flown around Venus, but just getting to its surface and exploring it has never been done before the Venera probes have ever.
Venera 13 and 14 were arguably the most successful missions of the Venera program. They were a culmination of decades of research, a cycle of continuous adaptation based on data and trial and error.
Yeah, so this is one of the early prototypes of these Veneras, and yeah, so you can already see one of them, their parachute just ripped open as it was falling.
Cycle of continuous
it was way too fast due to the atmosphere. Remember, as you get closer to that surface, the pressure just like rises up like no tomorrow, because like I said, Venus's atmosphere is crushing.
Adaptation based on data and trial and error. These 2.7 meter tall probes were built for one purpose: to survive for as long as possible where nothing else could. To endure the unimaginable. An atmospheric pressure 92 times that of Earth, the equivalent of being nearly a kilometer underwater.
Or like I said, that's equivalent to you're probably 1,000, maybe more underwater. I mean, 1,000 feet underwater. I mean, that's crushing.
Water. Temperatures exceeding 460 degrees Celsius, far hotter than your oven's highest settings,
Wow.
and a suffocating atmosphere of carbon dioxide, with clouds that rain rotten egg smelling corrosive droplets of sulfuric acid. So, how could anything human made possibly endure such hellish
Yeah.
conditions? Their resilience came from advanced materials of the time, along with some very clever engineering. Although, unfortunately, certain details about the materials used in their construction remain sparse, likely due to the classified nature of the Soviet era.
Yep.
However, there are some grains of information that I could find. The descent lander was a hermetically sealed pressure vessel, meaning it was completely airtight, which
Yeah.
contained most of the instrumentation
That airtight. So you don't want anything like it's atmosphere. You don't want anything like any corrosiveness getting into the electronic parts as it's taking sensors and taking data. Yeah, you need to keep that encased.
and electronics, mounted
And
on a ring shaped
the cooling system is also in there as well.
landing platform and topped by an antenna.
Antenna.
Each probe's airtight sealed pressure vessel was likely formed in several sections,
Yeah.
bolted and then sealed with gold wire gaskets.
Wow.
They were covered in a layer of thermal insulation and a thin outer skin of titanium, known
So titanium can actually withstand temperatures up to 6,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Um, but yeah, just like that. So you have to keep everything so insulated. So that's why there's multiple layers of this metal, and the cooling system somewhere in here as well. And yeah, and it's coated in these has gold rivets of gold gaskets and all that stuff. And yeah, you don't want those exposed until yeah. So yeah, it's marvelous engineering right there.
for its high strength and resistance to corrosion. The pressure vessel was lined inside with insulation, possibly layers of fiberglass and metal foil. Stainless steel components likely braced the inside against the immense pressure, protecting the
Yep.
scientific instruments and electronics housed inside. Noble metals, such as gold and platinum, known for their excellent corrosion resistance and electrical conductivity, were probably used for critical components and
And also extreme melting points as well. They have very high melting points.
connectors. Copper might have been used for electrical wiring, and the cameras were protected behind thick pressure windows made of quartz.
Wow.
Along with an ingenious cooling system that utilized phase change materials, which absorb
Where kind of you have to start.
heat by melting and so delay the overheating of the probe, Venera
This
13
is where you kind of have to have the testing over here and to make sure this prototype before you actually send the real one to Venus. They send it to a special chamber where it can simulate Venus's conditions, its heat, its corrosiveness, its atmospheric pressure. You need to send these prototypes to a testing facility where it can pass before sending the actual real one to Venus.
and 14 successfully performed their missions. Yet, even these robust materials were eventually no match for the relentless
And also, pretty much understanding how you're going to land these onto the surface. Because, like I said, you have to time it perfectly, you have to set it at the right speed. Because remember, the prototype, the early parts of the early Veneras, they fell too fast, they fell too slow, the parachutes ripped open. It's because, like I said, as you get closer to the surface, the pressure skyrockets and it gets crushing as you keep descending. So you have to time it perfectly. And this was timed perfectly to land on the surface.
conditions of Venus. Here on Earth, materials react to their environment
True.
in fascinating ways. Beneath the ocean, ships slowly
Salt water, bacteria, barnacles, any conditions that chew away at the metals of shipwrecks and other things.
corrode, their steel consumed by salt water, while marine life transforms them into beautiful artificial reefs. In arid deserts, sun
Yep.
and wind etch metals and rocks into strange, weathered forms. But Venus is no Earth.
That was no.
The reactions there are swifter, stranger, and far more destructive.
So pretty much Venus rains sulfuric acid and hydrochloric acid, and those two chemicals are so corrosive. Like if you touch it with your bare skin or bare anything, it would burn anything when it comes near it. And like I said, any clothing or any skin or anything, then yeah, that will basically burn anything in its path. And that's what this probe has to withstand because of these chemical reactions.
Venera 13 landed first, touching down on March 1st, 1982, followed by Venera 14 just
There you
4
go.
days later. Once on the surface, they were greeted by the planet's famous searing temperatures, crushing pressure, and toxic atmosphere. Incredibly, we can see the probes and their surroundings from the images they captured just moments after they had landed. Each image revealed a barren, volcanic landscape, with rocks strewn across a cracked surface,
Wow.
bathed in a eerie yellowish glow that is filtered through the dense, toxic clouds above. These were the first and only color
Yeah, you
photographs
can see those little sensors right here that surface the ground as well and the base.
ever taken from the surface of Venus. We can even listen to their surroundings
Ooh.
because they also recorded the sound of this hellish environment. A faint, haunting rush of wind sweeping across Venus's surface. However, as incredible as
Yeah, it takes weather samples as well.
their surroundings are to view and to listen to, the harsh conditions would have soon begun to take hold, gnawing at the probe's exposed surfaces.
Okay.
The immense pressure, 92 times that of Earth's, would have been pressing relentlessly, like a small car pushing down on every centimetre of their bodies.
Wow.
For a brief moment, though, the probes endured, lasting far longer than had been expected. Venera 13 transmitted its final signal after
Yeah,
one
so like I said, withstanding you can yeah, imagine 2,000 to 3,000 pounds of weight on top of you. I mean, that's just crazy. That's the equivalence of being on Venus. It's a car on top of you, and that weighs 3,000 pounds. That's crazy.
127 minutes.
I mean, like I
And
said, if you drive like 1,000 feet in the ocean, and yeah, like that's how much your body, that's pretty much how much it weighs on your body. Because yeah,
Venera 14,
it's all
weakened
about
by the
surface water on top of you.
same conditions, lasted just under an hour. Then there was silence forever. Although their transmissions didn't necessarily stop due to the harsh conditions. Instead, it was more likely because the orbiting spacecraft that relayed the signal to Earth moved out of range.
Oh,
They simply lost contact with each other. Nonetheless, after losing contact, Venus would have continued to attack the probes. The external heat would have been so intense that once the cooling systems failed, the temperature
the atmosphere can expose inside of the capsule.
inside the vessels would have skyrocketed. Any polymer materials used for wiring, seals, or gaskets perhaps would have charred and vaporized.
Wow.
Within just a few hours of losing contact, the external atmosphere probably entered the vessels. Sulfur dioxide and other acidic gases would have rushed inside, corroding and oxidizing the
Yep. So the series of chemical reactions.
internal metal components. killing off the probes for good. Over the coming weeks, months, and years, the titanium and steel framework may have softened. Corrosive sulfur compounds would have eventually crept into every crevice, eating away at once pristine
Yellow thing,
surface.
sulfur. All that sulfur just eating away at the metals. Yeah, the acid just eats away at the metal and just weathers it. Yeah, like all those chips and oh, that's nasty.
Surfaces, forming a patchwork of darkened scars. Today, more than 4 decades later, what remains of Venera 13 and 14 is of course a mystery. The surface of Venus is shrouded by a thick blanket of gas, meaning we cannot see the region where they exist. However, they are certainly just silent sentinels on a lifeless plain.
Yeah, they're just corpses, and yeah, just like the rocks here on Earth, and they've been weathered away by reactions. Yeah. So right now on Venus, you have series of chemical reactions that's already like just like on the rocks, they're just chipping away at the metal and just you know corroding basically everything. Everything's covered in sulfur and acid and
Their smooth, metallic sheen long since vanished, probably encased in layers of oxidation and dust. Their structures may have even partially fused with the volcanic terrain surrounding them that we saw in the images they sent back.
wow,
The noble metals like gold and platinum would still remain, possibly even visible in patches,
gold,
gleaming faintly amidst the matte and scorched remnants of less durable materials.
crazy.
Now the probes likely resemble ancient corroded artifacts, darkened by chemical
Already just attacked, and like I said, it's all weathered and just chipped and eaten away. It's just
reactions and etched into Venus's hostile landscape, perhaps even adorned with yellow deposits of sulfur. However, although they are no longer whole, their story remains. The Venera 13 and 14 probes have never been talked about more. Sure, they are
yeah.
certainly weathered and worn today, but they do endure on a world where no life survives. But
Yeah, like so these are very famous for observing the weather, withstanding the heat and the corrosiveness. For like I said, well, Venera 13, 127 minutes, and then Venera 14, only just an hour. And that's crazy. They withstand it that long.
where they represent an incredible example of human curiosity elsewhere.
I don't know. With all this technology we have today, I mean, one day we can probably go back to Venus. Send a probe that can withstand the temperatures with the technology we have today. But just right now, I don't know. I don't think this is gonna happen because, like I said, Venus is too hostile. Yeah, it's gonna be eaten away. It's gonna be so hot that it will crush everything. Just it's crazy. Hopefully, with the technology, but like I said, don't count our blessings because, like I said, it's just Venus is just too hot. It's just too hostile and just impossible to have anything that can withstand, unless if you build something with different materials and insulate the area better. I don't know, but like I said, it's just the technology that was back 40 years ago, or longer than that. Because, like I said, there was 29 Venera missions. Most of them didn't survive because the materials and the way it landed and just but Venera 13 and 14 had a glimpse of exploring what Venus looked like. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you guys learned something brand new, and we're going to continue with the Venus series for a little bit. And also, I do have that community post where you guys can post on space questions. I'll do a read your comments video. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, keep exploring.